I moved to Buffalo, New York in late October, when the lake wind already had that metallic bite that makes you taste winter in your teeth. The duplex was on Richmond Avenue near Delaware Park. The landlord, Mr. Kowalski, said the upstairs unit, mine, stayed warm if I bled the radiators, and that the man downstairs keeps to himself. He said it like a compliment that had been used too many times. The day I carried the mattress up, the downstairs door opened. A tall, washed-out man in a gray sweater looked past my shoulder instead of at my face. "Wood carries sound," he said. "Slippers help." He smiled without teeth and closed the door carefully, like someone was sleeping behind it. His name on the mailbox was E. Crane. The house was old but practical. The kitchen sloped toward the back, the stairs complained, and the shared basement had a painted square for the laundry machines and sagging shelves in the far corner where tenants left things that outlasted them. Down there, the light always hummed, even if I flipped the switch by the door and tugged the pull chain above the shelves. A separate bulb glowed softly in the back, like a nightlight for concrete. I asked Mr. Kowalski about the wiring. He said, "Elliot likes to keep a lamp on, says it helps him see." Then he changed the subject to winter parking on Elmwood, where to avoid the tickets when the plows came through. I tried to be a good neighbor. Slippers at night, laundry before 10, no music loud. The first Friday I came home from Wegmans on Amherst Street with groceries and saw a gray sliver of movement behind the basement shelves as I came in the back, a shoulder sliding out of sight. "Hello," I called. No answer. The smell was damp soap and iron, with a ribbon of bleach that didn't make me feel cleaner. A week later, a small envelope appeared under my door. Inside were foam earplugs and a tight pencil note on yellow paper, "Uri heavy on the stairs." No signature. I set the earplugs on the hall table and started stepping like I carried a glass of water that would spill if I breathed wrong. Small things began to layer. My hallway mirror, an oval above a narrow table, would tilt a few degrees overnight toward the front door. The deadbolt's thumb-turn shone where a finger shouldn't have polished it. Twice I found the living room screen unseated a finger's width, as if someone pressed on it from outside. The basement light hummed through the quiet like a throat clearing. The smell changed too. It took on a sweet, wrong edge that clung to the back of the throat. On a Saturday afternoon, I followed it to the far shelves. A blue Coleman cooler sat on the concrete with 2 bleach jugs beside it and a folded towel on top. A ring of moisture haloed the bottom. I didn't touch it. I went upstairs and called Mr. Kowalski. "Elliot fishes when the weather holds," he said. "Keeps bait on ice." I reminded him it was November. He said the Niagara never really sleeps and ended the call. That night I pushed my couch against the kitchen door that led to the back stair and the basement. The scrape sounded like admitting fear. Around 3, I heard the wooden steps creak up, one careful tread at a time, the way you walk when you already know which board complains. The shadow under the door filled in, as if shoes stood inches away. The knob twitched. A soft click feathered the lock, like a suggestion instead of a force. I held my phone and didn't move until the washing machine started below me. In the morning, I bought a wedge alarm and a stick-on door sensor at the Home Depot on Ridge Road. That night, the sensor screamed at 3:07 a.m., the kind of metallic shriek that turns your bones glassy. Through the peephole, there was only the jitter of the hall light. When I turned around, the little magnetic piece from the sensor, the piece that is supposed to live on the jam, was sitting on my counter. I called the police after the 3rd night of footsteps. 2 officers walked the basement, sniffed at the cooler, and wrote bleach odor on a report. Without damage or theft, they couldn't do much. I asked about changing the lock on the kitchen door that also opened from the basement. Mr. Kowalski said he couldn't change hardware because of shared egress and code. He said it like a phrase he had practiced. Being tired turns fear into paperwork. I photographed the hall mirror each night and compared the angle in the morning. It moved twice in a week. I laid a hair across the kitchen door seam. 3 mornings out of 5, it was broken. I marked the draft stopper's position with a pencil dot. After a weekend, I barely left the house. It had crept inward half an inch. I started to feel like I was losing an argument whose terms I wasn't allowed to see. My friend Eric came over with coffee and loud confidence. We went to the basement in daylight. The light hummed, the cooler sweated. He nudged it with his boot. "Empty," he said, and I hated the relief that tried to arrive. Reaching behind a shelf, he found a crumpled store printout, a key copy receipt with our address, dated 2 Tuesdays earlier. Under notes, someone had typed, "Basement access, upstairs unit." Eric swore. "He has your key." We brought the receipt to Mr. Kowalski. He stared too long. "Keys get copied," he said finally. "Doesn't mean anything." He told me to call the police. The officers came back, knocked on Elliot's door. No answer. They told me to document, not confront, and consider staying elsewhere. I booked a cheap room near the airport and left lamps on like a cardboard cutout of a person living a normal life. After 3 nights away, I returned with Eric. The hall mirror lay face down on the table. The couch no longer blocked the door. On the middle basement stair, along the riser, a thin crescent of something dark had dried. Elliot's door was open an inch. From the landing, I could see a gray sweater hanging on the back of a chair and a small square mirror on a side table angled perfectly at the stairwell. If I leaned, I could find my own eye in miniature. I gave 30 days notice and accepted the penalty. On my last afternoon, I carried a rolled rug down to the car and came back up for the mirror. As I lifted it, brittle tape peeled from the back, old clear scotch across the frame, the kind you use to catch a hairline. I hadn't put it there. You can argue an earlier tenant did, that adhesive migrates, that wood shifts. You can argue anything if the goal is not to feel afraid. 2 weeks after I left, Mr. Kowalski called to ask if I'd forgotten a plastic bin. I told him no. He said there was staining in the basement that wouldn't scrub out, and the city sometimes cited for that. I asked if Elliot still lived there. He moved, he said, not far. When I asked where, he sounded almost proud. Garden unit off Hertel. Says he likes to see what's going on. I live off Bryant now, closer to Elmwood, above a shop whose owner sweeps the sidewalk every morning at 7. The noise is wonderful because I know what makes it. The first week, twice at 3 a.m., I woke convinced I heard water switch cycles far away, like a memory of a washing machine. I lay still and counted 10 breaths and then 10 more. In the morning, my hallway mirror was still turned toward the wall, where I'd left it the day I moved in. Sometimes, if I walk down Richmond toward the park, I look at the old duplex from across the street. It is just wood and paint and windows. The basement light isn't my problem anymore. But if I picture it, I can smell bleach, the kind of clean that takes something with it. This isn't a story with a chase or a docketed name. It's a map of tiny moves, mirror angles, broken hairs, a cooler that is empty when a friend lifts it and heavy when you're alone. It's a note that says you're heavy on the stairs. It is the sound of a washer cycling in the dark and the suggestion of feet an inch from your door. If you live in Buffalo, you know how early the dark arrives and how long it stays. You know how sound rides old wood. If you find a light that will not go out, you can tell yourself it's wiring, or habit, or a kindness when you go down for laundry. You can tell yourself that. I did. When I moved, I left the bulb alone. Some things you don't switch off. You just learn where not to look. I lived in Jackson Heights, Queens, on 82nd Street between 37th Avenue and Roosevelt Avenue, 1 block from the 7 Trains Steel Howl. My apartment was 3D in a 6-story walk-up with a humming fluorescent at each landing and a parking lot view. The super Carmen told me the man across the hall had been here forever, then added, "He's harmless." In that careful way people say things they're not sure about. I met him the second night, standing on the 3rd floor landing with a chrome tape measure unspooled like a silver tongue. He pressed the blade to the plaster, thumb holding the lock so it bowed and sang a thin metal note. Without looking up, he said, 7 feet, 8 inches, as if I had asked. He snapped the tape into its case, wrote in a small, squared notebook, and only then glanced near my face, never at my eyes. His mailbox read, Turner. After that, I saw the tape everywhere. He measured the risers, the width of the handrail, the height of the peepholes, the distance from the lobby door to the first cracked tile. He even measured the radius of the carpet's worn curve at the corner by 3B. By the second week, I slept badly. At 12:33 a.m. on a Tuesday, a shadow crossed the band of light under my door and stopped. I looked through the peephole. Turner was crouched there, sliding the tape along the crack between door and floor, pausing at the latch, studying the deadbolt like a jeweler. He wrote something, stood, and lingered, close enough that his shoulder eclipsed the peephole. Then he walked to the end of the hall and measured the fluorescence lens. The next morning, my draft stopper, one of those brown bean-filled tubes, sat an inch inside the apartment. I was certain I'd snugged it against the door before bed. I blamed myself and slid it back. That night, I made a tiny pencil tick on the tile. In the morning, the stopper had migrated a quarter inch, and the tick was smudged as if someone had tried to rub it away with a dry thumb. Turner's hours shifted. At 7:40 a.m., on my way to the E train, I found him in the lobby measuring from the bottom of the front door to the crescent gouge in the terrazzo, where it always caught. At 10 at night, he measured the elevator doorway, though the elevator had been dead since Thanksgiving. He started listening, not to people, but to the building. He would lean against my jamb, head tilted, lips moving as he counted breaths I couldn't hear. I opened my door while he crouched with the tape at my threshold. "Can I help you?" I said. "Just taking notes," he said without looking up. "I'd appreciate you leaving my door alone." "Of course," he said. He pointed at the faint pencil mark by my stopper. "You missed a spot. Cleaning." That night, I wedged a cheap alarm behind the door. It woke me at 2:04 a.m. with a ripping metallic shriek. The chain was still on, the deadbolt thrown. Through the peephole, the flicker and hum of the landing light, the hallway empty as a stage between scenes. I filed a report at the 115th Precinct on Northern Boulevard. The desk officer wrote, "Neighbor measuring door at night." He advised a camera and no engagement. The camera I bought was Matchbox small and magnetic. On the third night, it recorded what I hadn't been able to name. At 2:29 a.m., a hand entered the frame from above, long fingers traveling the hinge side of the jamb, feeling for flex. A thin strip of steel slid into the seam and worried the latch. The wedge chirped as pressure changed. The steel withdrew. The hand withdrew. 30 seconds later, the fluorescent flickered. I showed the clip to Carmen under the lobby bulletin board, where flyers for ESL classes yellowed beside a missing cat notice from 80th Street. Her mouth flattened. "Do not open your door," she said. "I'll knock and talk." Turner didn't answer. She taped up a general notice about hallway etiquette and key control. I changed my lock. A locksmith on 37th Avenue replaced the cylinder with a high-security one and handed me 2 puzzle-cut keys. "People try doors," he said. "Make it boring." I slept harder until a new sound woke me. 5 fingertip taps on the wall behind my headboard. A pause, then 5 more. I moved the bed to the other wall the next day. The tapping moved with it. When I timed it, there were 13 seconds between sets, so precise it felt like a lecture. A friend slept over. At 2:30 a.m., the taps began, patient and practiced. "That's not pipes," she whispered. We shoved the couch against the door and laughed because we had to. In the morning, a faint chalk line marked her rear tire. Parking enforcement chalks, we told ourselves. Delivery guys chalk, anyone chalks. Management announced an annual safety inspection, entry between 9 to 4 Thursday. I stayed home. No one came. When I removed the chain to check the hall, I saw the plate's screws were now flathead, not Phillips. I hadn't touched them. Carmen said maintenance must have tightened it. "Maintenance leaves a card," I said. She didn't answer. That night, my camera caught Turner again, not touching my knob, not even facing my door. He stood with his back to the peephole, head slightly turned, counting in a whisper I still couldn't quite hear. He wrote in his little book, then extended the tape toward the ceiling corner where two walls met, as if measuring the way the building held itself together. I decided to move. Decisions are clean. Logistics aren't, not with a lease and a job. I boxed my books in newspaper and told my furniture we were almost done pretending this was home. 2 days before the movers, I propped my door open to carry a box down. When I came back, Turner was across the hall, the tape dangling from his hand like a thin tail. "Leaving," he said, not a question. "Yeah." He looked at the new cylinder, at the fresh screws, at the wedge, kicked aside. "Your next door will be 2 inches tighter," he said. "You measured it." "Everything moves," he said. "Buildings remember." He let the tape recoil with a snap that felt like a thought finishing. My new place was in Woodside off 61st Street, within earshot of the Lear's soft whistle. The first night I slept hard. At 2:30 a.m., habit woke me. I lay still and counted to 13. No tapping. In the morning, a chalk smudge marked my front tire. I wiped it away and told myself it meant nothing at all. A week later, a postcard arrived with no return address. On the back, block letters said, "Your new door is 2 inches tighter." I turned the card over for a signature that wasn't T there and slid it into a drawer because throwing it away felt like failing a test I didn't understand. Carmen texted a month later to ask about keys. I sent a photo of my 2 puzzles and a thumbs up. She replied, "We're putting timers on the hall lights." I wrote back, "I hope you sleep better." She didn't respond. I still keep a wedge behind the door. I still wake at 2:30 and hold breath to hear whether the building is counting with me. In a city of thin doors, we tell ourselves locks are language, and most of the time that is true. But there are people who study seams and timing and the grammar of small noises. And once you live across from someone like that, you learn how close 7 feet, 8 inches feels to the width of your sleep. Once in a while, I pass 82nd Street on my way to the Roosevelt Avenue entrance and catch myself looking up at the 3rd floor landing window. I imagine Turner's face turned not quite toward the peephole, but a little below it. The courteous angle of someone who will not meet your eyes while they inventory your life. I never see him. I still measure breath, distance to the door, the silence between taps. On the nights when I almost relax, my palm hovers near the deadbolt. The postcard stays in the drawer with my stamps. It flexes when I press it, like a tape bowed and held at the edge of release. If I throw it out, I'll only listen harder. If I keep it, I agree to a number I didn't choose. So I lock the door, slide the wedge into place, and time my breathing to the hush of the hallway light, which hums whether anyone is there or not. When the hum falters, I wait for it to return. It always does. And I tell myself that this is what harmless sounds like. I lived in Chicago's North Side, on Ravenswood Avenue near Lawrence Station. It was one of those old red brick apartment buildings built before air conditioning, where the hallways always smelled faintly of radiator heat and metal. My unit was 4C, right across from 4B. The man in 4B introduced himself the first week I moved in. "Name's Harlan," he said, smiling too much. His hair was the color of paper ash, slicked back, and his hands were clean in a way that made them look unused. He wore the same gray cardigan every day, no matter the weather. On his window ledge sat a clear jar labeled "Donations." Inside were keys, dozens of them, house keys, mailbox keys, car fobs, all piled like silver fish under fluorescent light. He caught me looking once and said, "They're from people who don't need them anymore." Each one used to mean safety. Then he smiled again. I thought it was an art project, something urban and weird, until I realized the jar kept getting fuller. The first strange thing happened on a Saturday morning in February. I was heading out to grab coffee at First Slice Cafe on Wilson Avenue when I noticed my apartment door was slightly open. Not wide, just the width of a palm. The air inside felt colder than it should have been. Nothing was missing. But drawers were pulled halfway out, and a picture frame on the bookshelf leaned at an odd angle, like someone had walked through slowly, touching things, then left. I told myself I must have forgotten to lock the door, though I knew I had. Still, I changed the lock that afternoon. When I got back from the hardware store, Harlan was kneeling at his doorframe with a screwdriver. He looked up and smiled. "New locks?" "Yeah, someone might have come in." He nodded, eyes fixed on my doorknob. "Phillips head screws. Easy to pick. I'd swap them for security Torx if I were you." That night, I barely slept. 3 days later, my spare key disappeared. I kept it in a magnetic box under my car, parked in the back lot behind the building. When I crouched down to check, the box was still there, but empty. That same evening, an envelope slid under my door. Inside was my missing key. No note, just the key. I took it straight to the police station on Damen Avenue. The officer at the desk shrugged and said, unless someone used it to enter my apartment, it wasn't technically a crime. "Document it," he said. "Maybe add a deadbolt." When I came home, Harlan was sitting cross-legged in the hallway polishing one of his keys with a cloth. He looked up and said, "People underestimate how personal a key is. You give someone a key, you give them trust." I didn't answer. That night, I taped a small camera to the peephole facing outward, hoping to catch whoever had been near my door. At 2:14 a.m., the motion alert buzzed my phone. The footage showed a hand, gloved, steady, reaching up to the doorframe and placing something on top. The person stepped back, head tilted slightly up. It was Harlan. He looked directly into the lens, smiled faintly, then walked away. When I checked the top of the doorframe that morning, there was a single brass key resting there. Different from mine. Old, uncut, with a red paint stain near the teeth. I called the police again. The officer remembered me. He said, "Ma'am, you said he didn't break in, right?" "No, but he's leaving keys at my door." "That's unusual," he admitted, "but not technically illegal." That phrase, "not technically illegal," became a refrain that week. By Friday, the whole building had started talking about Harlan. Mrs. Lopez from 4A said her mailbox key had vanished. A college student downstairs claimed his bike lock key was missing from his backpack. Carmen, the building manager, finally sent out a notice. "If anyone experiences missing property, please report to management immediately." The next morning, a new jar appeared on Harlan's windowsill. It was smaller but filled halfway already. The label read, "Trusted." A week later, I came home from work to find another envelope under my door. This one held 2 keys taped together and a note. "Duplicates make people feel safe. That's a mistake." I didn't sleep that night. Around 3 a.m., I heard slow footsteps in the hall. Not heavy, but deliberate. One step every few seconds. Then a metallic sound, like keys brushing metal. Through the peephole, I saw Harlan standing outside Mrs. Lopez's door, head tilted, whispering something. He held a large key ring in his right hand. I considered yelling, but the idea of him turning toward me froze my throat. He eventually went back into his apartment and shut the door without a sound. Sunday afternoon, the police came back with Carmen. They searched Harlan's unit while the rest of us waited in the hall. When they opened the door, I expected chaos. Instead, it was spotless. Minimal furniture, everything labeled, jars lined along the windowsill and desk, locked, donated, trusted, retired, each filled with keys, hundreds of them. But nothing illegal, no stolen property anyone could identify. Just keys. The officers left. Carmen told him to remove the art installation. He nodded politely and said he would. That night, most of the jars were gone from the window. But when I walked past on my way to the elevator, I heard the faint clink of metal being sorted inside. A few days later, every tenant received a photocopied list under their doors. Door codes, emergency access, verified residence. The list contained our apartment numbers, names, and 4-digit numbers beside each one. No one knew where it came from. Carmen swore she hadn't sent it. The management company said they had no idea. When I compared the numbers, the code next to my name matched the last 4 digits of my old phone number, the one printed on the lease application I'd handed to the office 6 months before. That meant someone had gone through the paperwork. I bought a chain lock and another camera, this one facing my living room. I needed proof. 2 nights later, the motion alert woke me again. 2:23 a.m. The footage showed my front door opening halfway, then stopping. Someone stepped inside, just a shoulder and a sleeve visible. Gray cardigan. He didn't come in further. He placed something on the coffee table and left. When I turned on the lights, I found a small black notebook. Inside, handwritten columns of names and apartment numbers. Next to each, a date. At the top of my page, 4C, key acquired March 3rd. I called 911 immediately. The operator told me to wait outside. By the time the police arrived, Harlan's door was open, but his apartment was empty. The jars, the labels, the table, gone. Only the window was open, curtain moving with the night wind. The officers took the notebook, but there wasn't much they could do. The next morning, the super found a maintenance key ring missing from the lockbox in the basement. Security footage showed Harlan walking out the back door around 4 a.m., carrying a small cardboard box. That was the last anyone saw him. 2 months later, a letter arrived addressed to resident of 4C. The return address was a P.O. box in Joliet, Illinois. Inside was a single key, painted red at the head. No note. I put it in a drawer. 6 weeks after that, someone buzzed my intercom just past midnight. When I asked who it was, a man's voice said, "Maintenance, annual key check." There was no annual key check. I called out, "Come back in the morning." Silence, then faintly, "You never donated one." The line went dead. I didn't sleep until sunrise. When I finally checked the hallway camera footage, no one appeared at my door. But a red-headed key lay on the floor outside the frame. I moved out within a week. My new apartment is downtown, high-rise, fob entry only. No keys. Everything is digital now. It should feel safer, but it doesn't. Sometimes, when I come home late, I find the apartment door already unlocked. Nothing missing. Just open, like before. And every few months, an envelope shows up. No return address, no handwriting, just a single metal key inside. Always a different type. One had a tiny R etched into it. Another had my initials scratched faintly on the back. I started keeping them all in a jar by the window. I don't know why. Maybe because throwing them away feels wrong. Maybe because part of me thinks he's still collecting, and I'd rather know where the next one belongs. The jar's about half full now. Sometimes when the building settles and the heat clicks off, I can hear the keys shift softly inside, like they're remembering where they came from. And every time I count them, there's one more than before.